Hey Revolutionaries, I'm excited to bring you this week's episode with Chancellor K. Jackson, where we're talking about his new publishing company, where he's helping you write books and put them online, and where he's focusing on the core of writing, as he calls it, where he's getting back to the personal expression of writing, rather than seeing writing as a means to an end, or, in an academic sense, or, everybody's expressing themselves through video and TikTok things these days. He's focusing back on writing, and because of it, I can't wait to listen to the rest of his new book called 14 Days in Beijing. It's been blown up on Amazon, it's been a bestseller, and I started listening to the audio version, and it's like a page turner. What's the audio analog of a page turner? I'm not sure, but what you would call that, an ear burner or something like that, maybe, I don't know. But really, you need to take a listen to it. And you need to learn from his experience of him going over to China to teach English and not quite understanding or appreciating all the strict rules in China. And he can describe it himself during the episode of how he was pre-gaming. He was going to go out and he's kind of doing his thing that he would normally do in the States, where all these things are illegal, especially smoking marijuana, which is the pivotal thing that happened to him when he was over there in China, and how that turned into 14 Days in Beijing, as he calls it, his experience with the Chinese government and being arrested for this offense. Really spoke to me because I like travel, I like to understand what's going on in the world, and as I'm recording this intro here, I'm here in Asia, so Southeast Asia. I'm in Thailand now. So it's great to be back on the road again. It's been almost 3 years since the pandemic, since I've been able to travel like this, and so I'm excited to kind of be back out in the world and see what's going on. And one of the interesting things I mentioned to him was that I was curious in seeing how Thailand has changed, is that since I've been gone from Thailand has legalized marijuana, and which is a little bit unusual for some of these Asian countries, because they just generally are stricter in regards to drugs, any kind of drugs, illegal substances, substances that we would normally say are illegal or have been traditionally illegal in the United States. So, but they're more open to marijuana here in Thailand, and I can give you evidence of that. Just walking the streets here, there are marijuana carts everywhere, big head shops, big jars and jars and jars and jars of different strains of marijuana. I'm not a partaker, so I don't know how to appreciate any of this stuff, but it's just amazing to my eyes to see. But in Chance's case in China, be careful out there. It is not legal, and he really had an intense, harrowing experience, and his book about it, his interest in writing a book kind of came after the fact, after he came back to the United States. He's originally from Atlanta. And it spawned his foray into writing. First of all, he didn't go to school to be a writer or English person or that kind of thing, but it really helped him express and process the experience, and that's what led to his founding of his new publishing company and helping others. And now he's got a trilogy in the works based on the characters in 14 Days in Beijing. It's a super interesting story. I can't wait for you guys to listen to it. But before we get there, real quick, just a reminder, if you're listening to the podcast, if you're a new listener out there, remember to share the episode with someone. If you're getting some value out of it, stop by and buy me a coffee. Check out the Linktree, /JimJim99, where you can find all the links for the podcast website, the Buy Me a Coffee. I think the latest episode link is going to be on there as well. I need to update it though, so I'll take a look at that. And also, don't forget, if you go to the website, JimJimsReinventionRevolution.com, you can download my priming guide. So it's 7 simple ways to prime your mind for reinvention. So just pop in your email address and download that for free. Okay? All right, now let's get to Chance's episode.
Welcome to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit JimJimsReinventionRevolution.com for instant access. And now, Here's your host, Jim Jim.
Hey everybody, hey, this is Jim. Welcome to episode 103 of Jim Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. I'm talking today with author, entrepreneur, and athlete Chancellor Jackson, and we're talking about his new company, Korleh Publications, and what he's doing in the publishing world, and his new book, 14 Days in Beijing. So, Chancellor, welcome to the Reinvention Revolution.
Hey, blessings and balance to you, Jim. Blessings and balance to everyone that's tuning in right now. Big shout out to those that's tuning in, man. For real. Let's shout out to them.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I'm glad you said that, because if you're a new listener, or if you listen to Jim Jim's Reinvention Revolution all the time, this is the episode to listen to, because this has got a real interesting story, and for two reasons, and specifically about the book that you just came out, 14 Days in Beijing. So I'm traveling to Asia tomorrow. I'm going to Thailand tomorrow. So I'll be in Asia. So I'll be in Asia for a month, and I was listening to the audio version of the book earlier today, starting out listening to it, and maybe I'll listen to it when I'm traveling, finish it up. But it was kind of bringing me back. I haven't been there in 3 years, haven't been traveling in 3 years because of the pandemic and such, and it's reminding me about all the kind of sights and sounds and smells of those kind of Asian countries over there, where it's so, there's so much stuff going on, so many inputs to your eyes and ears and everything. But also the landscape, the local landscape, and the rules are different and everything's different. And in particular, I'm going to Thailand. And when I left last time, I was there in 2020. As it relates to your story, 14 Days in Beijing. So weed was illegal there, and since then it's become legal in Thailand, which is a little bit unusual for those Asian countries, because they're more strict and more locked down. So I was just reminding me, I just got to pay attention and watch myself when I'm traveling. So I don't want to spoil the story too much, but you just keep listening, everybody. Okay, so Chance, man, tell me what's going on with Korleh Publications and what you're doing with that business, how you're helping people, and what was the motivation behind that?
Yeah, so Korleh Publications will be one be a household publishing company for sure. Just give it time, let us continue to run these marathons to lay down this foundation. Right. But yeah, what we strive at Korleh Publications is bringing back the core of writing, and core is Kore, and that's bringing back really what I feel like writing's true form was, truly just expression, self-expression. I feel like nowadays, especially this age we get into, everything is, it's reading and writing is dying. Little do we know it, everything is straight video now. You get on Instagram, Facebook, it's turning into TikTok. It's straight video. So we getting away from the reading and writing world. So I feel like, at Korleh Publications, we bringing back just, the fun side of writing. Most times I've introduced writing or bring up writing to anybody, they automatically equate it to some school shit, or like this is an assignment and I'm their professor and this essay is due at midnight tonight. No, that's not the case. Not at all. We bring back the fun of writing, making, it's fully creative, fully, it's truly going to be you on this piece of paper when it's all said and done. And most importantly, you're going to own all your rights and be entitled to everything, you're entitled to. We just helping you, publish it, bring it out there.
I got you.
So,
well, I like that. You got me thinking about this, because I like your approach of why you're doing it. Like, hey, man, I want to get back to this writing as an expression, as fun, as maybe a cultural thing that, obviously way, hundreds of years ago, that was the main type of expression for humans. And I feel like maybe it's a reaction to all this technology that's happening now. The way I think of it is like, I spend a lot of time on the internet and the computers, and so I specifically take time to go out and go hiking, get back out in nature. So I feel like maybe there's some similar sort of resonance there with how you're feeling about the writing situation. But I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to get that voice out, because I think that's very interesting for people to hear. You know what I mean? Have a different take on it, because I think you're right on, really. But what happened, gosh, since we talked just a few days ago, whatever, I just want to ask you about real quick this whole ChatGPT AI situation that is starting to bubble up around for everybody. Do you have any thoughts on that? Have you looked into AI in terms of writing or publishing? Do you have any comments on it?
You talking about like the Web3 stuff?
Kind of the Web3 stuff where it's like automated, where you can put in some prompts and it can, create a story on its own, where the AI takes over, the artificial intelligence takes over, and just, okay, yeah, I can write a 300-page, 300-word story about that, or a blog post for you.
Yeah. That's crazy. Nah, I ain't even really got into. I ain't know the depths of it.
Okay.
Like that. But that's wild.
Okay, no worries. Well, hey, I just want to get your thoughts on it, see how you're thinking about it. Obviously, that's not what you're basing your business on, because you're looking for people to publish their own voice. That's, but with all the automated tools that are out there, these things are coming. So, just wanted to see how you were thinking about it. And also when we were talking earlier, like what you reminded me of, or just thinking about it, where I was thinking like maybe a personal voice with words. I thought the kind of common culture now, especially in the United States, but it's kind of worldwide really, is sort of rap and hip hop. And I thought, is that an expression? But tell people what you told me, where you weren't really thinking of it that way. You think of rap in a different way versus writing.
Just my people, my culture of music is and has been like top tier field for, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People to express themselves and to change their lives, and you know what I'm saying, you really make a lot of money doing it. So yeah, in that aspect, it's just a whole different type of time. And then the music that is popular now is all destructive. It's nothing positive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? Folks is really becoming famous for talking about misogyny and adultery. And
right.
all this other, you know what I'm saying, crazy stuff. And you know what I'm saying, we just made, you know what I'm saying, it's popular.
Well, you were mentioning to me that that your experience or your thinking about it was that they mainly kind of go in and it's sort of off the top of their head, or kind of flowing, right?
Yeah.
That it's distinct from coming up with an intentional publication where you're writing about really trying to express something or telling your own story. Right.
Facts, yeah. It's only a few artists, that's music artists, that's on that type of time still. And I'm like Kendrick, J. Cole, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay.
It isn't too many, but we got a few of them that's on that type of time. But for the most part, nowadays it's a lot of just freestyling and, you know what I'm saying, just punching in. All right, but I'm just throw the beat on. I'm just going first thing, you know what I'm saying, whatever come out of my mouth and rhyme.
Right. And sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's okay. Like you said, sometimes it goes to the lowest common denominator because that's maybe the easiest thing that kind of flows to your mind first. But I thought that was just another cool observation that you had. I was just like, oh, that's interesting. I never thought about it like that. Obviously, you're putting the time in and thinking about it, all this whole thing more intentionally. So very cool. But how did you? So that's what you're doing with the business part, and you're doing this for others. Obviously, you're providing this service and you're providing this expertise in how to publish things. How did you get into it? Does that kind of go back to this first book that you put out, 14?
Well, yeah. Actually, when I was going through like the editing phase of 14 Days in Beijing, I had no clue how I was going to go about publishing. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, I know for a fact I need to make sure that this is done and it's ready to go before I try to go present it to somebody, you know what I'm saying, to try to get it published. So that's just all. Let me go ahead and get it ready, and it's all set and done. So I ain't got to double back and do that part. So, but with me, just anytime I'm hanging out with somebody, I pass on my laptop like, hey, bro, read a few pages of this. Let me know what you think. Not telling them what it is, what's it about, nothing. Just read it and let me know what you think. And then next thing I know, about 10, 15, 20 minutes can pass, and I ain't get my laptop back yet. They just over there thumbing through it like, okay, yeah.
Right.
I got me a page turner. You know what I'm saying? I know I got something.
Yeah.
I just don't know how I'm going to go about publishing it.
Sure.
But just with me, just sharing it with people like that, one of my partners, he was working for Amazon at the time, in like the warehouse or something, and he was like, it was randomly one day he sent me Amazon self-publishing program. He sent me that. He said, hey, you ever heard about this? So you're like, I don't know what this is, but I think they got something geared towards something like what you want. So he didn't really know it himself. He just heard about it, sent it to me, and I took it further. I'm looking into it. I'm like, hey, this is ideal. Like, this
right.
This is exactly how. This is really the perfect way to go about publishing, and that way I have full creative freedom of how we gonna do this thing too. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is it right here. This is how we're gonna do it.
Very cool. Okay, so you learned. So you figured this is the way to go. You're not trying to find a publishing house in New York somewhere or whatever, right? You're like, I want to do this on my own. I want to keep control of it. All those kinds of things, right?
Even with me taking the independent route and 14 days in Beijing going slap crazy the way that it did, I went back and tried to put it together and submitted proposals to publishing companies. Okay, I'm like, well, clearly this is a good book, so let me try and see if one of the traditional, publishing companies or somebody, see if somebody would be willing to pick it up. I sent it out to plenty of companies, and nobody did anything with it. So I'm like, shit, I really want to trip. I'm like, I'm already making noise solo dolo. So, you know what I'm saying? Clearly, I just took it as a sign from the university. Hey, keep doing it the way you've been doing.
Right. Well, just maintain control. That other thing's not all it's cracked up to be if you lose control and if it pulls you in a direction you don't want to go or forces you into some deal where you have to create 2 more books and maybe you're not interested in doing that or whatever it might be, right?
That part.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, so when you got it out there and it started resonating, how did you know that it was a thing? Other than you had this feeling, your friends and colleagues, but like once you put it online and let it go, like what happened?
I remember. I can't remember if it was the same. It had to have been the same day. Like the day of release, up until the actual. So on April 4th, 2019, that's when everything popped off. On April 4th, 2020, that's when I released the very first version of 14 Days in Beijing. Okay. And up until April 4th, 2020, I was, I had plenty of content from the photo shoot we did for the book cover. So, I was using that as promo. So leading up to the day, I was just, posting the pictures and all of that, had captions. I did it for like about a week. And I want to say on April 4th, 2020, I forgot what I was doing. I can't remember what I was doing, but something in my spirit told me to go look up the book on Amazon. Okay. And I went to Amazon, I looked it up, and I just saw the tag, the number 1 new bestseller. I was like, whoa. That's crazy. I'm like, it's crazy. I screenshotted it. I started popping my shit immediately on social media. Right. And then went back the next day. Still up there, but now it's number 1 in a new different genre. I'm like, this is going crazy. Next, go back the third day, a different genre. I'm like, so it's like, it was crazy. It's crazy. Wow. It was just a thought, idea, like, hey, bro, you should write a book about your experience. Yeah. All right. That's a good ass idea. I don't even know where to start.
Well, you started. Okay, that's a good point because it's not like you had a background in, English writing or something, right? I mean, you never considered yourself to be an author. That wasn't going to be your career, right? You were just had this thing of like, man, I had this crazy experience. I think it would make an interesting story. Plus, maybe you just want to get it down for your own, posterity's sake. That's super, super interesting. So maybe we can rewind a little bit and kind of finally let people in on like, what does 14 Days in Beijing mean? What is that about? Because it's a pretty intense thing. And I'm, it's one of the things that hooked me is just being interested in talking to you about it because again, I'm a traveler. I've been to Asia. I'll continue to keep traveling, but it's something to be aware of. And I have like a million questions for you about it. And I just listened to like the first 2 chapters and I was just like, I'm just going to listen to this just to get a little taste. And then I really couldn't turn it off. Like you're saying, it's like, man, it's like start slapping like from the first sentence. I'm like, what's he talking about? Kush, what? And I'm not, like, I'm not a partaker as they say. Yeah. But that's cool if you do, and I'm a musician. Been around tons of people that's what they do. That's cool. That goes along with music and arts a lot, and different endeavors of life. And it's quite, quasi legal in the United States now. Many areas, recreational, obviously within states, not quite federally yet. Other countries it's legal. China, obviously, it's not legal. But so maybe you can, go through your background here a little bit and say, like, what were you doing in China? How'd you get there? Why'd you go there? And what happened right when you got there?
Yeah. So after I graduated from college in 2018, I landed my first job teaching English to children in China. Now, mind you, my degree was in communication and media studies. Mm-hmm. So clearly education was nothing that was planned, right. You know what I'm saying, or thought of.
Right.
It's just something that I just fell into.
By the way, let people know that you're a football player.
Oh yeah.
So okay, so you're an athlete. Actually, let me just jump in real quick because I want a little fun fact. So I was like, creeping on you on the internet here this last couple of days, and it looks like you played for the Stetson Hatters, right?
Yeah.
Is that the team? Now, I've always heard of a Stetson hat, cowboy hat. Mm-hmm. I never knew that there was a university, a Stetson University, and their mascot is the Hatters. That's ridiculous. Is that ridiculous? Do you have to wear like a cowboy hat when you play there or something like?
Yeah. So some dude named John B. Stetson, he's the mascot, but he always wears a Stetson hat, and just our logo is it's a Stetson hat. So, trust me, we've been cracking jokes on ourselves since.
You must be, man. Like, and people listening out there that don't know about this, it's not. I'm not making this up. It's for real.
Are y'all the haters? The Stetson haters? I ain't never.
Yeah, the haters.
Heard it all, man. So.
Right, exactly. Hilarious. But I just wanted to make sure people knew that, and that you're like, hey, man, you're like a hard worker. You're going to college. You did this, but you're not thinking you're going to be an English teacher in some foreign country. I mean, that's far out, really.
Yeah. So first job to tell me yes after 8 months of applying for jobs and being told no. First job telling me yes just so happened to be on the other side of the world. So I was like, this ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is what we finna do. And I entered China on October 10th, 2018. I was set to do a year. That's how long my contract was for. I only ended up doing 6 months because on April 4th, 2019, things hit the fan. It's a day off for me. I'm getting ready to head to an event to meet some colleagues and friends at. But before I go, I'm a pregame. So I'm in the apartment just drinking a Chinese wine cooler, smoke some cannabis. I get done, get dressed. I'm really finna get ready to walk out the door. Then I hear a knock, curious to see who it is. There stood 3 officers from the Beijing police. You know what I mean? So sick to my stomach, you know what I'm saying? Trying to scramble to put everything up.
Oh my God. Open
the door, they walk in, question me about drugs. Now, I'm from Atlanta, the city of finesse. You live by the finesse, you die by the finesse. So they asked me about drugs. I'm acting like I don't know what they're talking about. Like they sitting there speaking German.
Right.
So
I think that would have been most people's reaction. Be like, wait a second, I'm not admitting to anything until I figure out what's going on. Right?
Come on, you know what I'm saying? So they end up drug testing me right there on the spot. Failed the drug test, of course. So now, you know what I'm saying, I'm getting questioned about failing the drug test. You know what I'm saying? There's more officers in the apartment now, and they ransacking the place. And I got this one officer that speaks English fluently. He's just questioning me about failing the drug test, when was the last time I smoked, who I get the weed from, if I had any more. Just, you know what I'm saying? And questions in regards to that. And like I said earlier, I'm from Atlanta. You live by the finesse, you die by the finesse. So me and this officer, we going back and forth. And it got to the point to where I can tell he was just trying to pull whatever extra information he could out of me.
Yeah.
But I'm still high as Orion. The moment is big. You know what I'm saying? I'm pissing down my leg, yet trying to keep my composure at the same time.
Absolutely.
So we going back and forth. I'm catching myself in my own lie. So I knew for a fact he was catching me in my lie. But you live by the finesse, you die by the finesse. So once he realized I won't give him nothing that he could work with, he made it clear that the charade was up, caught red-handed. You know what I'm saying? They know I had more. So I'm like, okay, for sure. I got to die by the finesse this time. I'll live to finesse another day.
Yep.
Now I got to hold myself accountable. So they confiscate everything. So now we just bouncing from precinct to precinct. My official interrogation is done within this time, and it's dramatic because they take me to the basement of one precinct into this all-white room and lock me into this all-metal chair that looks like an electric chair just to do the interrogation. This chair locked my shins, thighs, waist, chest, and arms all in one place. Only part of my body I could move was my head.
Wow, that's crazy.
But by that time, that was about 2 hours, I want to say. That gave me plenty of time to come up with a good story to finesse their ass with. So I gave my fabricated story. I'm assuming everything went well.
Right.
They released me from the chair, and then, you know what I'm saying, went back upstairs, did the mugshot, handprint. And they just threw me back in the holding cell for some more hours. And I'm just up there just reflecting everything, just wondering if they bought the statement, replaying the scenario in my head, like what I could have did better, what I could have said better, all this, that, and the other. And hours and hours pass. They come get me, walk me to the lobby, bring my basket of clothes, tell me to get dressed. I get dressed, ready for the next set of orders. They following them through all these rooms. Now I can only assume some form of evidence room. In the center of the room is the table, and on the table is everything that was confiscated from the apartment. Now, the officer sitting down at the table, he weighs the weed up right there in front of me. Now, this is an interesting phase within the book because, one, as a reader, you're curious to know how much does he actually have on him. Two, when have you ever heard or seen law enforcement weigh whatever they just confiscated from you right up in front of you? When have you ever heard this? I thought that was interesting. I'm like, I've never seen or heard about any law enforcement doing.
I don't think I knew
this.
anything about that. It kind of makes sense if there's distinguishing like laws or fines or whatever involved. You know, they need to demonstrate that, right? Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then 3, I don't receive any information whatsoever throughout this entire ordeal. The whole 14 days. I'm here to tell y'all I did 14 days.
Right.
So with that being said, nothing was explained to me as far as what's the process like, moving forward, what's going to happen next, how long I'm going to be in this situation, what are the rules of the jail. I don't know nothing. Right. What's going on?
Were you assigned a lawyer? Like, you know, thinking about the United States system, are you allowed to call somebody, call a friend, call a relative?
They just brought me a bunch of documents that I couldn't read and told me to sign the thumbprint.
And that you couldn't read, of course.
He said, jump, I say how high.
Right? Damn.
So,
okay.
So now we get back in we get in the van now. So I'm like, okay, it's 1:00 in the morning. Y'all came and arrested me at like 11 something. I'm like, bro, there's no way they're not taking me home by now. I've worked with y'all. Energy been good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I've been compliant.
Right.
I'm like, but they got to be taking me home. We ride in 34 minutes past, and we arrive at a facility detailed with tall walls and barbed wire. I was like,
dang. It's not going the right way.
I'm blown, like, man, we just getting started. So we go inside, do a quick physical, change my clothes to my official uniform, give me a plastic bowl and a plastic spoon, and then we go upstairs to the second floor to where the mental house. So we get to cell 209. Mind you, it was like 4:00 in the morning at this point. So of course, folks asleep.
Right.
CO opens the door, and my psych is thrown instantly at how the setup of the cell is. Cell ain't nothing but a big rectangle. I say about 15 yards in length, 10 yards in width. And immediately I see is a huddle of bodies sleeping. In the book, I describe it as it looks like a slumber party. Across from the
many
slumber
people
party,
in there. Wow, interesting.
Yeah. Across from the slumber party, standing wide awake, standing up against the wall, are 2 Chinese inmates watching the rest of them sleep. So we just got this awkward moment of eye contact, is just trying to make sense of what's, because the last thing they expect to see, this brother with locks coming walking through the door. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Last thing I expected to see was 2 Chinese motherfuckers watching other Chinese motherfuckers sleep. So we just got this awkward moment of just like, bro, what is going on here?
Right.
So I take a step into the cell. I do a head count. Including me, is 15 of us in this cell.
Wow.
I count the beds, which are number of wooden bunks. 9 of them in total. Well, that explains why it looks like a slumber party then. To the left is the bathroom. It's its own separate room, but all the walls are made of glass. And you know what I'm saying? We got a sink. Squat toilets are pretty much a hole in the ground you squat over. And the shower ain't nothing but a water hose with a shower head duct taped to it.
Right.
You got black mold coating the walls, gnats and stuff flying around. So it's not the most sanitary place, to say the least.
Right.
But I approached the slumber party trying to find a spot to lie down. And one of the inmates that was taking watch wakes 2 people up to make room for me, and they do. And they set my bowl and my spoon in the cubby up underneath the bunk. and I lied down between these two Chinese dudes with my hands on my chest like this here, standing at the bright light on the ceiling. And that's when reality fully kicked in. That's when reality fully kicked in.
You're like, you thought you were going to go home that night, and you're like, it's probably not going to happen now.
Man, ain't no telling when it's going to happen.
Right.
I'm like, I'm actually locked up for real.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's not looking too good. But, hey, I got to hold myself accountable. You know what I'm saying? Can't blame, point the finger at anybody for me being in this predicament, you know what I'm saying, but myself. So, with that being said, it is what it is. I got to take this to the chin. Now, moving forward, what the hell needs to happen to speed up this process, me getting up out of here? Well, first, if you've got to realize you're in here, first thing first. All right, well, what can happen in efforts for that? So I was like, well, you were supposed to meet a bunch of friends and colleagues at that event today, and you didn't show up, and I'm sure they called you, and you ain't answered. Is that a red flag? Nah, it's weird, though. Mm-hmm. Now, you don't show up for your classes Saturday and Sunday, all hell is breaking loose. People now they got to find somebody to cover them, all of them last minute. And one of the colleagues that I was going to meet at the event, me and her work in the same exact school. So I'm like, all right, you know what I'm saying? She going to know something's up. You know what I'm saying? He ain't show up to the event. Now he ain't showing up for work. Yeah, something's wrong. Right. You know what I'm saying? All right, so I'm like, boom, that's one factor. Other one, I had a girlfriend at the time that I still talk to regularly. So I was like, when I don't respond to her messages, all hell is breaking loose. So I'm like, I know I'm going to have to at least sit through the weekend before I become missing on people's radar. Right. So with that being said, we're going to have to thug it. You know what I'm saying? On Monday, hopefully the search for us will begin then. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we're just going to take it, you know what I'm saying, step by step. When Monday get here, hopefully something will transpire and, you know what I'm saying, we'll have something to work with. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, that's like the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 15 minutes on sale. Right. Now I would have.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, well, obviously you got out. I don't know how much more you want to go through the story. We want people to, go and read the book and get it, or listen to it online. I know I'm gonna finish it because I'm like, oh my god, I got to find out what happened, and I want to know. And I'm surprised, honestly, like this far, and maybe I'm too. Have a too negative outlook on these kinds of things that I was surprised that there's no physicality yet. That they didn't beat you up, they didn't push you around, that they, I was thinking that's just kind of standard. Whenever you get arrested in these kind of situations, especially in a foreign country, they're going to let you know, like, hey man, you screwed up and we're going to let you know. Like
I was like, when I was in the van the first time, they first let me down in the van, I was like, damn.
You're right. Because they can take you anywhere and do anything and tell the story, whatever story they want to tell, right?
But I knew, I'm like, man, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I'm going to be good when it's all said and done. Like, I know I'm going to have to go through something, but I knew it wasn't going to be nothing too crazy to it. Like, it'll be to the point where I lose myself. Like, I know I'm going to endure something, but yeah, all it's going to do is just make me stronger at the end of the day. So I knew I was going to be good, and I was mentally prepared for whatever.
Oh, really? Okay, so tell me about that, because where do you think that comes from? Or is that just more of kind of naturally kind of who you are, or maybe developed through your training of sports or what,
Yeah, a little bit of naturally how I am, and of course, you know what I'm saying, just accountability. You know what I'm saying? Learning accountability, and especially D1 football. You know what I'm saying? You really learn accountability.
Right. No excuses.
So
you got to do the work, right?
You know what I'm saying? On me. So it's just like, it is what it is. Right. So it's like, I can't sit here. Now, if I've just been arrested for something I couldn't even tell you, like, it's just a completely just set of unfortunate events, and now I'm just wrongfully arrested. Okay, now I can trip and feel a certain type of way. Now, you know what I'm saying? Right. I got a reason to. But before, shit.
Right. Right.
Well, you know what you were doing for sure. So
right. You knew it was illegal. You shouldn't have been doing it. You're in their country. I mean, it's hard to kind of argue with them unless they did kind of step out of line and mess you up in some different way.
Yeah.
But you have to be like, hey man, that's something. Those are the breaks, I guess.
On me. And I knew it was like, of course, I'm saying, okay, you made a choice. This the repercussions from it. I was like, of course, that's ideal. But I'm like, I still felt like it was bigger that I was going through it. I'm like, out of all the people, you know what I'm saying, it's me, the universe chose me, so that's why I'm curious, because I'm like, I know myself well. Okay. And I'm like, a situation like this, ain't nobody going to be able to handle no situation like this the way that I'm finna handle it.
Not everybody.
So I knew,
that's right, yeah.
It was a deeper reasoning to, you know what I'm saying, me going through that situation as well. I'm like, it's something I'm supposed to take away from it, this when it's all said and done, of course, but it's something I'm supposed to do with it. I don't know what it is.
Interesting.
But,
okay.
You know what I'm saying? For sure.
Well, it's those experiences, you can't avoid, life is crazy the longer you live. We were talking about that before when we were just chopping it up a little bit when we first got to know each other. But yeah, like the longer you live, the crazier life sort of seems to get. But if you can learn some of these early lessons, I think it gives you this other gift or this other insight as you move forward to how to guide yourself and guide other people around you of like, hey, here's how to maybe handle these things, or you realize you got a little bit too close to the sun that time, man. Be careful, Very cool. Okay, so obviously, well, people want to find out the ending to the story, how you got back, how you got out of there, and how you made it back. Were you forced to leave, I guess, maybe just when you got out of there, were you forced to leave the country because of this incident happened? Did you have to come right back? Did they kind of extradite you back to the United States, basically?
Yeah, so as soon as I was released from the jail, they took me straight to my apartment to pack up the rest of my shit, and then straight to the airport where I was deported from the country.
All right. You're like a big boot in the ass on the way out, like, get the heck.
Yeah, got me on the out of there. I'm talking about within 6 hours, like I was gone.
Yeah. I've heard this. Now this was in Thailand. Again, this is kind of just sharing for everybody listening, because I know people that listen to the podcast are from all around the world and travel a lot, just because they kind of reflect some how I do my life, I guess, a little bit. And recently, I know a musician friend of mine. He had some kind of snafu with his visa in Thailand, where he was supposed to extend it, and you could stay in the country another 6 months. He thought it was extended, but they changed some rule of law on him. And while he's at the immigration office, they're like, "Oh, your visa expired, last week. You have to leave the country." And basically, they sent him home, and they said, "You have 10 hours to leave the country. You can go home and pack, but you better be on a plane within 10 hours." And they're like, "Tell us where you are. We want your passport, blah blah blah." And he has a wife in Thailand who's Thai. Yeah. So he had to be separated from his wife, his loved one. He had to leave the country. He has to stay out of the country for over a year until he can come back in. Man. Just weird rules. Feels like he didn't do anything wrong, whatever.
Yeah.
No explanation. Just get the hell out of here.
No, thanks. There's a couple of people, vast majority of the people that I'm locked up with in Beijing Jail 6 got something to do with their visa.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, there's something to, a good portion of them, something to do with their visa. Like you said, overstayed it, on the wrong visa, or, you know what I'm saying? Right. Or something geared towards
just
that, though.
Paperwork. So, I mean, obviously the rules are there for a place. I mean, you don't want people drug trafficking or human trafficking or whatever people are trying to do around the world. But it's just a little crazy. Anyways, okay, so you get back to the U.S. What are you thinking when you get back? Now you don't have a job. You're thinking you got to really reinvent yourself now, and that was some crazy experience you just went through. Oh, were you thinking about writing a book while you're there, or like when did this idea of writing the book come together, and like why?
Yeah. So once I got back to America, of course I'm just happy to be free again.
Hell
honestly,
yeah.
So just enjoying, freedom on the, on the flight back, and of course excited to, see my girlfriend after 6 months. So that was just pretty much the two biggest things that I was, most prideful for. Then, of course, once I got back to Atlanta, I'm just trying to figure out, exactly what's next. Mm-hmm. So now I'm going through talking to the girlfriend now, realizing, our dynamic ain't what it is no more. So dealing with that. In addition, I'm fresh out of Beijing jail number 6 with nothing to lose. All my money still up in China. I done lost my job.
Right.
Now I'm losing my girl. Yeah, damn, my back against the wall. Like I'm like, damn, boy, in the span of 2 weeks, boy, my
right. Life changes quick, man.
I'm like, in the span of 2 weeks, bro, like this is crazy. Like everything's just going downhill. And I'm just like, man. It was a period right there now. Yeah. And Real Love Never Dies, my third book, touches on just all of that I was dealing with.
Okay.
Just that whole process, just that phase. But I ain't started writing the book until like months later. It wasn't even that many months. It was like into the summer. So of course I got back in April. Okay. So I want to say around like July. That's when I started writing the book.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was still crazy. It was still crazy the fact that I didn't do nothing with the experience aside from just sitting in the back of my head. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just steady going through life trying to figure, you know what I'm saying, trying to bounce back from, you know what I'm saying, taking this L.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying, fell into coaching football around the time, and then I started writing 14 days. And man, just getting it on paper, man, it was still mind-boggling to this day, because I'm talking about, for me to retain all that detail, all that information to the fullest detail that I was able to put on paper, you know what I'm saying, from start to finish. I'm talking about even to the conversations I'm having with people,
right,
verbatim. It threw my sight, like, bro.
Oh, well, I mean, it may take years to just process the feelings and the emotions and that's a rough thing to go through for anybody, man. Like, and I mean, it's incredible. And, you know, could have turned you real dark or real mad or something, angry. It doesn't sound like you're there, which is cool. And maybe writing the book helped you, you know, just process it mentally, obviously. So you get back and you said you started coaching football. If people didn't catch that, so that kind of got you off the couch and back into the world. And once you got home, right? So you're like, oh, that's a positive thing to do, being around energetic people and people that are, you know, young people that are, you know, healthy and, you know, full of life. So that's super cool to be around and be involved in. So you're doing that now. You started writing the book, and that turned into the publishing company because you were so successful at it and people kind of heard about it.
Yeah. After I definitely took the independent route and created Korleh Publications. And after 14 days, I'm like, okay, I don't really see myself writing anything else. It's it right here. You know what I'm saying? I done one and done, but I'm one hit wonder, shouty for real. Like, I ain't got nothing else for y'all.
That was it.
But then man, turned around and wrote, you know what I'm saying, published 2 more books. And it was, you know what I'm saying, a number of influences that, you know what I'm saying, inspired me to write the romance saga. But what really sold me when it's funny, I was just doing research on the best-selling genres. So when I saw romance at the top, that was sold after that.
Okay.
I
got one of those in
me. Man, it was already the same partner that inspired me to write 14 Days. He was telling me to write the romance saga once 14 Days was going crazy. He said, well, you need to go ahead and start writing the romance genre now. So you had something else
There's
to
some opportunity there,
people.
Right? Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, I ain't even in the headspace to write that, bro. I can't even hold you. Like, I'm still, you know what I'm saying, just dealing with it mentally and emotionally. I'm like, I ain't in headspace to write it. Right. And then a lot of women I was reading 14 Days, they was like, okay, you talk about this girlfriend all throughout the book, but you don't actually get to speak to her at all. And then once you get out, that's the end of the story. So what happened with that? You know what I'm saying? How you and her play out. We want to know the tea on that. So that was another, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's it. Okay, so does that book relate to the characters basically that are in 14 Days in Beijing?
Oh yeah, all 3
even
books.
though they're you or whatever, but you know, they're not exactly you, right?
All 3 books is telling one long story essentially. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying, like, a lot of the women, that's like, okay, we want to know about you and Shorty. We understand 14 Days. They really only give a fuck about 14 Days. They just want to know about me and her.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, all right, bet. So
very
that's
interesting, right?
Learn something to play, because it's pretty much a prequel. It dates back to college. You know what I'm saying? My junior year of college, and pretty much talks about me meeting her. How, you know what I'm saying? Just year 1 of our relationship. Okay. And then Real Love Never Dies. Of course, touches on me graduating, because she was younger than I was. So me graduating, entering the real world, going through the job searching process, constantly failing, and then finally landing the job. Just so I had to be on the other side of the world. What I was on in China prior to those 14 days. And then, of course, you know what I'm saying? It's picking up literally. The chapter's called Post 14 Days. So it's like, when I'm, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the book, you know what I'm saying, I'm walking onto the plane, that's in the story, and it's picking up from right there. Okay. You know what I'm saying? We getting off the plane in America, so it brings everything full circle for sure.
I gotcha. Wow. All right. Well, now I know more. Okay. Well, you're hooking me even deeper, man. That's fortunately or unfortunately for me, I guess, you know. I might have to check out these other books too. Well, that's pretty interesting. Okay, so Well, look, we got a few more minutes on the podcast, but there's always a few questions I want to ask, like of when you have these experiences and you're kind of forced to reinvent yourself, and you find yourself doing something that you maybe not even knew that you had any passion for previously. Just maybe a year or two ago, you're like, "There's no way I'm going to be an author," and having a bestseller online, and figuring out the internet and some of this technology stuff. That's not your background or whatever.
Yeah.
Or traveling, in foreign countries and all this kind of stuff. But maybe can you tell me like one or two things, like in terms of aside from your knowledge of the Chinese government now, maybe you can relate to people that are listening out there, coming from Atlanta and dropping into China. What were some of the things that stuck out to you in terms of just how people are different, or how people are the same even? That would be different from what you thought. Initially before you popped in.
Yeah, so life is still life over there, as far and I mean that in regards to people get up, go to work, kids go to school. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's still that matrix. It's still that. It's just a little different. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's still that matrix though. Just how they go about everything is just different. And honestly, I didn't expect the Chinese people to be so nice. If that's one thing, I didn't expect them to be that nice. I haven't had any negative experience with Chinese people here in America, but I know a lot of people who have, you know what I'm saying? But that's both parties being in their egos and ignorant towards both each other and being closed-minded. So that's really why that experience played out the way that it did. But surprised. I've never had no negative experience with Chinese people, but just, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Hearing people who had, and honestly, they know what to expect once I got out there, especially how they actually, you know what I'm saying? I had no clue what to expect, but I knew it was going to be a journey, and I'm always open to any type of adventure and exploring, and you know what I'm saying, just seeing new things. So, but definitely did not expect them to be as nice as they were. I'm talking about.
And it's crazy. And how did they? What did they think about you? Do you have any idea like how they perceived you or thought about you, like this big American? I don't know how tall you are. I'm assuming you're big because you're a football player, but
yeah. So definitely my physique is a little bit more defined.
You're like more built, like thicker or whatever. It's like this, there's sort of.
And then I had locks at that point in time too, so it's I'm drawing I draw attention, but energy is everything.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Based on somebody's physical appearance, you're gonna prejudge them for sure.
Yeah,
but it's within your time around this entity or this individual that will, you know what I'm saying, give you a better feeling or a vibe for, you know what I'm saying, how they are.
Yeah.
But the energy is everything, bro. I'm always peace, love, and prosperity. I'm
like
very
that.
chill.
I was just going to say, you might see someone who looks scary on the surface, but then if you look at their body language and they smile or they look at you and you're like, oh, this guy's cool. Don't worry about it, right? But you know exactly the opposite too. When you're like, oh man, this guy's a little funky. You can feel it, when they're not like looking at you straight or whatever. For sure. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Very cool. Well, okay. The other question I have for you is then, how do you think about the technology part? Or you're still under 30, so maybe you grow up a little bit more as a digital native, but digging into Amazon, like your buddy that's working in the Amazon warehouse. You're not super involved in technology and all the capabilities that are there. Like, probably blew your mind when you're like, oh my God, they have, publishing by Kindle. Amazon has these amazing services and things that people, on the surface, maybe they complain and rail at, Amazon that they don't pay me enough salary or whatever. But if you look at the flip side, all the amazing advantages that you can take that they're basically giving you, this like, incredible platform for your personal use to create your own business on. That's amazing. Not everybody gets to see that or understands that. So where do you think that comes from in terms of your mindset or you being open to it? Because you know what, you could have been someone else and your friend tells you about it and you're like, I don't know, this is stupid, and you blow it off and you don't figure it out. You don't crack the code on it. You're like, oh, I didn't know what it meant.
But the technology in China was crazy. Like back then in 2018, 2019, what we utilize every day now, that was already daily, every day. You know what I'm saying? Get down the QR codes and paying mobile pay and all that shit that we do now.
Yeah, they were doing it way back then.
I'm talking about folks. You in line at the grocery store, bro. You pull out cash. you could feel the energy change. Like, man, it's only the person that pulled out
cash,
he's slowing up the line. Like, bro,
right.
Man, but this man got cash still. It's like you sound like you seem like a dinosaur pulling out cash. Like everything's so efficient in regards to everything, bro, being right there on your phone. You can do everything from your phone. And they got this app called WeChat. It's pretty much their version of WhatsApp, but you can do everything on this thing. I'm talking about you can pay your house bills on WeChat. You can buy tickets for shows, planes, all that, bro. You can do everything, and it's a social media platform on top of it. So it's like, bro, you can do. It's a one-stop shop. You can do everything on, and that's also how they able to monitor and keep track of what, you know what I'm saying, everybody got going on too.
Right.
But yeah, man, that was crazy. The technology and that in regards to that. What else is? Oh yeah, the QR codes, man. Everybody and their mama got a QR code now. You know what I'm saying? Before, you just have to write it down, or you know what I'm saying. Hopefully, you can retain it in your memory to search up later.
Right
now, bro, you just scan this code. It can pull up everything you need right there.
Right,
bro. The homeless people in China had QR codes around their necks.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay,
they trying to ask you for some. They come with your little can. Hey man, I ain't got no cash for you. They bust that little QR code. You ain't got nothing. Hey, now you ain't got no excuse now.
Right? They know you use that QR code more than money. So, right.
I'm like, boy, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, homeless people in Atlanta go crazy with the QR codes. They had this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It's just like it's little stuff like that. That was already going on out there.
I knew the vendors, even the small vendors, like the mom and pop vendors, right? They all use that, right?
Everybody has QR codes. Scan this code. You can pay me just from scanning this code. That was already a thing there, bro. So that was definitely crazy. How strict they are. You know what I'm saying? They control everything now when it comes to their technological advances.
Right. Yeah. There's pluses and minuses.
Monitor and control everything. So you just can't just do anything on the internet. You know what I'm saying? And no one just eyes are always watching you. Always. Like I'm sure eyes are always watching you here in America, but it ain't like China.
Right. At least you feel a little mellower here. You're like, I can feel a little more here, right?
You know what I'm saying? You got you a little CIA agent here in America, but over there now, boy, you got you.
Yeah. Right.
Boy, ain't no telling.
You never know when you get a knock at the door, I guess, right?
Man. Yeah, what?
I see. So now, would you go back to China or Asia? Or what do you feel about traveling now? Like since you've had that experience,
Absolutely, I definitely would go back to China. I wouldn't go out of my way to go back now if it was on the same type of time as before, like an opportunity presented itself. You know what I'm saying? They pay for everything. All right, for sure. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. And I'm all for it. That'll bring everything full circle. Right. And I'll document the trip this time, record it. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna bring it, but that'd be too lit.
Yeah, that'd be another book for sure, man.
You know what I'm saying? That'd be too far.
Right.
And definitely, I didn't even really get to explore China like that for real. The first time, I was only out there for 6 months, so I didn't even get to see other parts of China. You know what I'm saying? China's a huge place. You know what I'm saying? They got plenty of different cities to, you know what I'm saying, you can tap in with. There's different vibes. Right. So, and that's, China has, I want to say, they have the strongest currency in Asia, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like,
I would say so,
probably. If China's already cheap, dirt cheap, bro. I'm like, imagine we go to any other country out here, bro. It's gonna be a wrap, bro. Like, oh yeah. I feel like that's another experience too, man. That currency exchange. It don't matter how much money you make in America. Go over there. Well, however much money you got,
you'll live larger.
Hey, your life is
if you want to, or you just
different lifestyle.
Yeah,
completely
for sure.
Different lifestyle.
For sure.
What? Yeah. So I'm definitely love to go back to Asia.
I gotcha. That's why I like going back. It's super fun. I've never been to China in particular, but it's definitely on my radar. I don't know about right now. Maybe the relations are a little more sticky right now, but it won't be like that always.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're kind of opening up with kind of getting past the COVID thing now, and how strict they were with it, and maybe learning their lessons a little bit in terms of being so strict and like affecting their own people too much with their rigidness, I guess. But well, Chance, man, thanks for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. If people are interested in finding out more about 14 Days in Beijing and reading the book, or finding out, or interested in publishing something themselves and want to work with your publishing company, where would you send them? What would you tell people to do?
Oh yeah, man. The best search engine we got right now, man. Google Chancellor K. Jackson. Everything you'll need will pop up in regards to where y'all can find me. My website will pop up, chancellorkjackson.com. All my books are available on my website as well as Amazon. Audiobook for 14 days available on SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts. So y'all can tap in with that. Any aspiring authors out there, you know what I'm saying? You got an idea or concept for a story, but don't know how to go about putting it on paper. Or you've written a whole book but don't know how to go about publishing, tap in with your boy. Visit my website. You can set up a free consultation so we can tap in further and see if we can work with each other or see if we'll be a good fit. And you know, so we can go from there. So, you know what I'm saying? I just tap in with me and Google me. Yeah, man.
Okay, by the way, I don't know if you thought about this. I was listening to the audiobook version. So Chancellor you're voicing the audiobook version, right? That's your voice on there. And people told me about this about my voice. My voice, they say sometimes is soothing or whatever. I got that vibe from you with the way you're speaking, the way your voice, the kind of the vibe, what makes it more interesting to me is, you're in this intense, crazy, nerve-wracking situation the whole time, since like from the get-go, right when it starts, but your voice is like super mellow and chill, and you're like, and by the way, they were doing this, and that makes it even more freaky to me. But your voice is like very soothing. I'm thinking like, hey man, this guy could do some voiceover stuff too, probably voiceover acting. It just reminded me when you were describing the book and stuff here at the end here. I reminded me of a question I wanted to ask you. Are you voicing the Chinese voices? The Chinese, is that you with the Chinese accent?
Yeah.
Holy shit, man. People, you gotta listen to the voice. Just check out the first or second chapter because he's voicing the what do you call him? The captain of the arresting officer that knew some
Officer
English.
Wayne.
Oh my god, Officer Wayne. Holy shit.
But that's how he sounded.
Pretty good. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. I must say.
He sounded, bro. I promise you, he sounded just like that, bro. He sounded just like that. And all I did was holding my nose. That's exactly how he sounded,
shit, dude.
No,
it sounds good. Okay, so tell people, because this is funny, because he's like, when you first open, right at the beginning, we'll give you one little nugget more for the book. That like when you first get into jail and the guy's going to come in and interview you, the head honcho there, Mr. Wang, I guess you call him,
yeah.
and he asks you, what's your Chinese name? What's your Chinese name? And he said, I don't have one.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about?
And then you answered in this. He said he gave you the name. So can you say that in Chinese, like how Mr. Wang would say it?
Yeah. So my legit Chinese name is Zhe. So it's Jackson. That's how you say Jackson in Chinese.
Okay.
So Zhe.
Okay.
Zhe.
I gotcha. But he gave you that Chinese name from Lucky because I guess you go by Lucky Chance.
Yeah.
So he said, no, your Chinese name is this or whatever, right?
Yeah. But that was the Chinese name he gave me was Zhe. I just changed it to Lucky to make it fit more of.
Oh, it was. Okay.
The Living Lucky theme. But yeah, Zhe was my Chinese name.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I just changed it to Lucky.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, it's funny the accountant comes in and asks you, what's your Chinese name? You're like, I'm not Chinese, dude. I don't have a Chinese name.
What are you talking about?
Exactly. Oh, crazy. Anyways, hey, dude, thanks for being on. I really appreciate it. And go check out the book. People, if you're writing books, check out Korleh. And I guess if you're in Atlanta, man, and you're looking for a football expert, you never know, right? He's out there coaching and doing his thing, man. So
I want to leave y'all with this message, man. It's from Nipsey Hussle. For those that don't know who Nipsey Hussle was a mogul, philanthropist, philosopher, serial entrepreneur, but well known for his music and his clothing line. He's from South Central LA, and the message is long-winded, running through this life like it was mine. Never settling, but setting every goal high. 1,000 burpees on the path to my own self-destruction or success. But what is a mistake without the lesson? You see, the best teacher in life is your own experience. And none of us know who we are until we fail. They say every person is defined by their reaction to any given situation. Well, who would you want to define you? Someone else or yourself? Whatever you choose to do, homie, give your heart to it. Stay strong.
All right. Right on, man. Well, you just heard the core, right? The KORE right there, man. Yeah. I appreciate it, brother. All right, man. I'm gonna have to let you go, man. But I could keep talking to you forever. But thanks so much.
Appreciate you, family.
Thank you, man. Thank you for listening to Jim Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at jimjimsreinventionrevolution.com. See you next time, and remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of. Hey, revolutionaries, if you enjoyed today's episode and today's guest, let them know by commenting on their Facebook page, finding their Twitter handle or Instagram feed, and letting them know you heard them on Jim Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and tell them what you got out of the episode, what you really liked, or how they inspired you. I know they would get a kick out of it and will help others find the same value that you found.